Hey crew, happy Monday. All right, we've got a great workout for you today. We've got 4 sets of 10 floor seated strict press, followed by 10 split squats on each leg. Okay, this is a great way to build some strength conditioning. We've been talking about how we can do this while we're at home and while we're doing quarantine, right? Especially if we don't have any weights. And so always doing single leg work and kind of playing with that a little bit is a great way that we can still keep some strength up in our legs and our shoulders. And so I'll show you that a little bit more in just a minute. But first, the workout is 20 rounds, 5 ground to overhead, 5 squats, 5 tuck jumps, and then 5 ground to overhead again, okay? So today is a big leg workout, right? It's a big dynamic extension workout as well with the tuck jumps, the squats. So I really wanna make sure your calves are loose and your hips are feeling good, right? And a lot of that starts from the ground up. So I would love if your warm-up was barefoot today, right? Maybe you jogged around the grass for 3 or 4 minutes barefoot. It's a great way to strengthen up your feet and bring a lot of life to those ankle joints, the calves, right? After you do that, let's start with sets of lunges. Do some lunges, some ab mat sit-ups, some inchworms, right? Again, set a clock for 15 minutes and just get moving in a way that feels good so that by the end of that, you're ready to get into some good leg work, okay? So for your warm-up, that's what I want you to do. Jog around barefoot if it's warm enough, right? Out in the grass, strengthens up your feet. After a few minutes of that, you're gonna do 3 sets of 10 lunges. Pause in the bottom of the lunge. Don't let your back knee touch the ground, all right? So that we're just kind of aimlessly going through it, but instead practice a little more control. Back knee hovers, boom, right back up. A second, I pause at the bottom, make sure I've got all those good angles and balance in my feet that I want out of a lunge, and you do 10 of those total. 10 ab mat sit-ups, 5 inchworms. All right, for our skill, let's move this over. The split squat is an awesome one that we don't do often enough in the gym because we're working so many other things, right? But it's a great one we can bring home because even if you don't have a bench for this, you can put your back foot on the back of a couch or a chair and still get a lot of the same strength and balance work that we're gonna get from it. Today you'll notice that in Wodify, because you're all signing in and checking in, you are supposed to do a front rack carry, right? It's a great way to make sure you're staying upright and again, play with that balance a little bit as the single leg work is happening. So, find my bench behind me, and I'm gonna step forward to a distance that when I descend into the lunge, my knee is gonna be over my heel, right? You're making a nice 90-degree angle with that front leg, and then this back leg, as I drop down in that position, keeping here, you're gonna notice sweeps back towards the bench. I come up, boom, and then back down, right? Up, back down. It's the top of my foot that's up on the bench here. Right? I'm not planting the ball of my foot there and trying to push through my back leg, but I'm letting my body weight settle over my front leg. Once I feel my weight right over that heel, I drop down, keeping the knee right over my heel and up. If I start coming down and my knee comes forward over my toe and your heel is lifting up off the ground, then your quad is gonna get overloaded. You're not working any of the glute hamstring complex, but you're just putting pressure on that quad, on your knee joint. It messes with your balance, right? So even if it's tough, I want you to get 10 unbroken reps. Back leg is up, front leg is forward. Take your time getting set, and then we're down as low as you can drive out of good position, okay? If it's too tricky to have your back foot up, we can do our step up, grabbing on for a little support, or we can do our lunge in the door frame, yeah? When you do a front rack hold, whatever object you're working with, maybe it's gonna be the backpack you can use and your wad. I'm gonna hug it to my chest. And that's just what we mean by that front rack carry. All right, in between or starting each set starts with 10 strict press. Floor seated is ideal. Whenever we sit on the floor, it limits the way that your hips or your legs get active in trying to press this weight overhead. It also really trains your core to be strong in order to stay upright. So if you don't have dumbbells or weights in order to do our strict press like normal, then what you're gonna do, and if maybe if you don't have like heavy weights, you only have Like what I'm using is a backpack here loaded with some books, maybe like 15 pounds or something like that. Then you can do 10 single arm press on the right and left. If you do have weight that's heavy enough, then you'll find this is gonna be plenty. Okay, so I get set, sitting on the floor, sitting on the floor. Legs are straight out in front. So that my body's in an L, right? From here, I'm gonna grab whatever weight I have. Maybe it's both hands under my backpack. And I'm pressing, okay? I'm not bending my knees. I'm not letting my toes kind of flop out to the side, but I'm keeping my toes enthusiastic and pointed straight up. I'm firming my quads and I'm lifting my chest, right? I'm not just hanging out here sitting and pushing however I can, but I'm trying to make the most perfect L position that I can find here, right? Legs are tight together. Again, if your weight isn't super heavy, then you can grab one of those straps and do a single arm push or a single arm press. My other hand is going to be right on my rib cage to make sure I'm not arching back. And after I get done with 10 on the right, move and do 10 on the left. Okay. 4 sets, pressing for 10, and then 10 split squats on each leg. All right, your workout. 20 rounds for time. 5 ground overhead, 5 squats, 5 tuck jumps, and 5 squats. So let me show you what those movements are. The ground overhead, if this was a workout in class, I would have you do dumbbell snatches. Okay, so I want you to find something that, touching from the ground, your back is nice and straight, weights in your heels, chest is up, just like if I was setting up for a kettlebell swing or a dumbbell snatch like I mentioned before. I get set and it's ground to overhead, a full lockout overhead. Touch it back down, up, 2, 3, right? Till I get through 5. Could have demoed those last 2 probably. Once you're done, set your bag down. You can use it for the tuck jumps actually. This will be my hurdle. And you're gonna perform your 5 air squats. Feet are shoulder width apart, chest up, just like in the split squat. And your body should be primed for this. Those hips are ready to take support or take some action. We're gonna sit back, hip crease below parallel, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get through 5 squats, and now our tuck jump. A tuck jump is a great modification, kind of like how we did our broad jump if you don't have a box, where rather than doing a jump for distance like the broad jump, today you're gonna jump and tuck your knees to your chest as if you were hurdling an object. Okay, so sometimes it's easier if you actually give yourself an object, like this backpack. I just finished my ground overhead. I'm gonna set up in my squat stance, feet shoulder width apart, and as I jump, it's not how high I get that matters, so don't worry if you're in a room with a short ceiling, but it's about how quickly I pull my knees to my chest and return to the floor. So it's like this. 1, 2. Again, I'm not springing super high. I spring, pull my knees up to my chest, and then come to a good controlled landing. If tucking your knees to your chest results in like a really hard come down, a strong land on the ground, maybe it feels like you're kicking the ground rather than coming to a controlled landing, then just focus on jumping into that controlled spot, more like the broad jump we did, where you're placing your feet right back down to the ground and absorbing that impact in a healthy way, okay? If we're not doing broad jumps today, then what we have instead of 5 ground overhead, 5 squats, 5 jumps, 5 squats, is gonna be 7 ground overhead, right? And 10 squats. You're gonna do those 2 things. If the jump hurts your body, you're doing 7 ground overhead and 10 air squats. You're gonna do that for the full 20 rounds, okay? If we're not squatting today, we can supplement with some sit-ups. We can supplement with lunges. If you were doing the split squat, then a lunge by holding onto the door frame shouldn't be too much of an issue. Or if you know that squatting below parallel bugs you, but if you stay just above parallel, you're gonna be fine, okay? Do the squat to the depth that feels good. If it's a strength issue and you wanna work on better depth to your squats, we can have a bench or a chair behind us that's just a little bit lower than where you're currently squatting to so that you build a little bit more strength through these 20 rounds, okay? So the workout, 20 rounds, 5 ground to overhead with a backpack or a dumbbell. If you have a barbell and you want to snatch, man, this is going to be 100 reps. So think about that by the end. Maybe I would use really lightweight, like just put 5s or 10s on, or just the empty barbell, reaching below our knees and then locking out overhead, okay? 5 air squats, 5 tuck jumps, 5 air squats. So by the end of this workout, you should have done 100 ground overhead, 100 tuck jumps, and 200 squats. Have a great Monday, and I'll see you Tuesday.